everybody. Two Alpha Gals here. I'm Debbie Nichols.
And I'm Candace Mathis. And you're listening to In the Tall Grass, where we're sharing stories of reinvention, resilience, and rediscovering joy.
Whether it's facing Alpha Gal syndrome or any other redefining chapter of life, we all have to learn how to navigate the journey through the tall grass. So here we go. Candace and I are here today to talk to you about one of the very most important things when diagnosed with Alpha Gal syndrome. So I don't know about you, but when I first got my diagnosis, one of my biggest concerns was how I was going to eat. The idea of removing all mammal meats and all mammal byproducts from my diet sounded basically impossible. So we're going to talk to you about how to navigate finding safe food.
Yeah. I mean, I think I had the exact same reaction as you, Debbie, like leaving that office. I knew it wasn't going to be so easy. Well, I don't know. Like I remember having that thought of, I've got a diagnosis. I know what I need to do. And then as I started researching, it became very overwhelming. Like,
right.
What's the first step?
You're exactly right. There was something to getting a diagnosis, right? We have a plan to start feeling better, which was the goal for so long. And just to have one, I think I was ready and willing to do just about anything to start feeling better.
Right.
But like you start to think about all the places where mammal is hidden, and it becomes really overwhelming.
Absolutely. And I know not everyone is as severe as we are. So some people only eliminate red meat and they're fine, or pork and they're fine. And I think that might lend to how do you get out of survival? And I think the first step out of it is preparation, right? So if you prepare through maybe keeping a food journal, that I think is a huge kind of simple step that is easy to overlook. It can be a little daunting for some people to write in a food journal, with every single thing that they're consuming and how they feel. But I will say, and I don't know if you had the same experience, but with every specialist that I saw, even from, not only the allergist, but like an ENT actually asked me if I kept a food journal. And it can be very informative for your practitioner to kind of help you guide to figure out your level of severity. So that would be kind of my first recommendation for the newbies here, to definitely start a food journal if you haven't already.
I agree. And I think that starting a food journal really helps you, like you said, figure out how severe you are, where you are on the spectrum of reacting, because that really will determine what you're going to have to do, what the challenges are going to be when you go to the grocery store or you go to a restaurant or you're looking to buy anything that you're going to consume. So we can speak to the severity, right? We can speak to the severe side of things and how we do it. But of course, if you're not as reactive as we are, you just scale it back. You just maybe take the first couple steps, and then you don't have to move on to dairy products or, beauty products eventually, health and the household products.
Right. Absolutely. And I think once you kind of have that foundation in place, then it helps you to step into the grocery store a little bit easier, because then, when you pick up an item, if it contains certain ingredients, whether or not you need to avoid those. Did you have a hard time initially with the whole reading labels? Because I know that can be really hard for a lot of people.
I absolutely did at the beginning. I mean, I think you and I have figured out how to navigate it pretty well at this point. But at the beginning, there are all those things like, well, I'm thinking particularly in medication, you've got magnesium stearate and all these things that no one has to list where their sources are coming from. And
yeah, I think transparency and labeling has a long way to go. There's a lot of companies that tout how transparent they are, but in the grand scheme of things, it can get so much more complex for us when we're having to dig into the minute ingredients to find out where they're sourced. And a lot of these companies don't have the information. So it gets very overwhelming for people. But I'll never forget that when you were diagnosed and you called me because you were shopping at Kroger and you said, "You're never going to believe this. Jiffy cornbread mix has lard in it.
I forgot about that because we just don't even get Jiffy anymore in our house. But you know what set me off to that, which I thought was funny, was I was looking in Kroger, like at the cornbread section, because I've got this corn casserole that my whole family loves that calls for a box of cornbread mix.
Right.
And I saw that Jiffy had boxes of mix that were labeled vegetarian. And my thought was, if this is vegetarian, what is in that other box that I've been buying for all these years?
Right.
And so it's scary to think, whether it's your cornbread or your baked beans, it's hidden kind of everywhere. And I think too about another story about you this time, about when you reacted to a Larabar. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And you were trying to figure out what it is, because Larabars are so limited in their ingredients, which is great for people like us.
Right.
But there were peanuts in it. And one of the risks for us with alpha-gal syndrome is some peanuts use gelatin, as an adhesive with the salt. And so it was very difficult to try to get a hold of someone.
It is.
To find out where they had sourced their peanuts, if that was what had triggered your reaction.
Yeah. It made me go on a tirade for about a week where I was going through all of my different peanut butter, because in my house, my kids like a certain peanut butter. I like a certain peanut butter, but I think I called like 4 different companies, and only one of them actually was able to give me a solid answer. It was so interesting. So I've just kind of chosen to be very leery with what peanut butter I eat right now. I tend to just go to almond butter because it seems safer. But I do think that it lends to the complexity through labeling. It lends to those that are new. I would say that you would agree with this, that starting out with less processed foods until you know what your triggers might be or what you're reactive to, whole foods are the safest for us, especially in the beginning.
Absolutely. And I think not only the safest, but it's sort of the easiest way to start out, right? Because if you're looking at whole vegetables or raw vegetables or something, a whole food like that, there isn't as much a risk that you're going to be contaminated.
Right.
I would add, though, that some chicken and fish, which would otherwise be safe for us and perhaps considered a whole food, is treated with carrageenan as a stabilizer, I believe. And that is not safe for some of those who have alpha-gal syndrome, but that doesn't have to be on the label necessarily. I have seen it on chicken labels.
Yeah, but I have too.
Yeah, but it's not on, it doesn't
not
have to
on
be.
all of them. Yeah. So I know like alpha-gal information created a really great kind of assessing your reactivity, like almost like a green to red type of thing. So that might be a really good, helpful visual for people if you're kind of wondering where you fall with all of that. But I'd also say, Debbie, you know how long I struggled with trying to figure out where I was having, reactions from or what was causing a reaction. And I would just say, give yourself grace. It's hard. It's hard to be in the struggle of this and to feel really bad, but give yourself time and grace to walk through it and for your body to start to heal, because it's going to take some time to feel better. But you will get there. We both have been in that spot ourselves.
That's right. Yeah, right there at the beginning, I started to feel better almost immediately after making sure I took all the beef out. But that was all I knew at the beginning. And then it did take time. Even after I cut out all the rest of the mammal meat, it did take time, especially, my big lingering symptom was the brain fog, which occasionally still comes up.
Right.
But it took so long for that to go away. And I remember the moment when I started to feel clear again. So I think that that's really good advice, to give yourself some grace and give yourself the time, which I think also leads us to the fact that when you're starting out doing this, when you're starting out trying to navigate how to go to the grocery store or prepare recipes, it's really important not to rush. It's really important to allow yourself the time, because it can be such a stressful experience. And if you go, and you're just not anticipating getting out of there in the same amount of time that you did pre-alpha-gal syndrome, that it takes some time to get used to it. I'm on a roll now. I know what I've got my standard things that I can buy at Kroger or Walmart. But even then, it's nice that now that I know that I'm not going to go hungry, I have been able to take some time to start exploring new foods, and you and I have found some really good stuff that way.
Yeah. So share, what are some of your favorite new items that you found because you had to?
Okay. Oh, that's a great question. And I think the first thing I would mention would be the Primal Kitchen steak sauce.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, because seriously, I eat that on everything. It comes out at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love that stuff. What about you? Do you have a favorite item that you wouldn't have otherwise tried?
Yeah. So prior to Alpha-Gal, I was a huge paleo eater. Like, give me all the meat. I never touched tofu. I thought it was the grossest stuff on the planet, honestly. I didn't understand how anyone could eat it. And I have to say, I've been pleasantly surprised because I have chosen to be predominantly plant-based at this point. And I love tofu. It's super versatile. I actually feel really good eating it. So that was kind of, a surprise for me. I never thought that I would actually enjoy it. But yeah, I love Primal Kitchen steak sauce. I think there's just some really great sauces out there.
There are. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I mean, all the condiments, I think like we've found good, safe mayonnaise and good, safe salad dressings to choose from. Like, I think that was really important to me too. We eat a lot of salad in our house, and I wanted to make sure that it was still I like raw vegetables, but a little salad dressing is nice too. And you want to make sure it's still going to taste good.
Absolutely.
You're not giving up every single thing.
Right. And I think that's the thing is, if you have an open mind to trying new things, that is kind of key with this. I think it helps us to become more resilient when we allow ourselves to expand a little bit and not see this as a complete death sentence, but as I'm not at all minimizing how horrible it is. I mean,
right. Of course,
it's been one of the most challenging 4 years of my entire life. But I think being that my love of food is so strong and I refuse to give it up. I refuse to live my life blandly. So I don't know.
There's a great tagline in there somewhere, I'm sure. Refuse to live blandly. But what we've discovered is you can live this way and it doesn't have to be bland. You don't have to sacrifice flavor. Right. We've found all sorts of ways. And the truth is that the more you do it, the easier it gets. I know the products that are potentially a risk for me.
Right.
And I know it's much easier to avoid them because I know what they're in, how they're used. And so as you do this, it really does become easier and frankly, more fun. I mean, one of the other things I started doing, COVID had a lot to do with this, but I also started doing a lot of grocery pickup, right? Plan it all while I'm at home. Right. And as I think of things, like as the kids walk in and say, we need yogurt,
right.
I add it to my online shopping list. But what I've discovered is you can look at the ingredients in that. And so I can take my time as I add stuff, or if I'm looking for, say, barbecue sauce, which can sometimes have beef broth in it.
Right.
I can check it right there at home. And so I have my whole list sort of, building until I'm ready to order it. And then all I have to do is drive to the grocery store. So that actually has turned out to be a real help for me as well.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And I think because then it allows you to not rush. Right. And, I know one of the biggest confusing points, I think for me anyways, was understanding the confusion among something labeled vegan, or if it just said vegan, or if it was certified vegan. Now we know that not all labeling is created equal. So if it just specifies that it's vegan, but it's not certified, it may not be safe. So I think it's great. That might be a silver lining that came out of COVID, was that we have the opportunity to do online shopping and read in the privacy of our own home and not feeling like rushed or overwhelmed or any of that stuff.
Yeah, it really helps you eliminate sneaky sources of mammal, where you can.
Right. Okay. So while we're on the topic of sneaky sources, I would say two of the things that took me probably over a year to realize And for those that might not be new to alpha-gal syndrome, I'm wondering if that might be the same for other people. It took me a really long time to realize that sugar, most refined white sugar, is processed using bone char. And the same can be said for alcohol, that some wine and beer is fined with various mammal-derived ingredients like casein or gelatin. So those two things, I think for me, were probably the most shocking of the sneaky sources. So I don't know, did you have that same issue, Debbie?
Well, I don't appear to react to sugar, but it's nice that at least there's some pretty clear alternatives. Instead of buying white refined sugar, you can buy organic sugar, and that is safe. There are also sugars that are actually labeled vegan certified.
Right.
So that's an option. The wine really did take me by surprise too. That was hard because my first thought was, oh my gosh, I'm already giving up steak and bacon and cheese. You're asking me to give up wine too. And I wasn't ready for that. But just a word of encouragement is that you and I have found so many good wines that are safe. And it has opened us up to try new ones. My favorite now is one that I hadn't had before. And it's just because it tastes so good and it's so clean. Right. And it's 100% safe.
Yep. I would 100% agree with you. I don't think I would have expanded myself to try some of those things, especially the wine. Thankfully, my cousin is in the wine business and was so helpful for me to get to the bottom of figuring out what safe options would be. And so, yeah, it added an element to this for sure, where I did the same thing. I said, no way, not wine. What?
No, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like we need a little bell or something for every time we have like a silver lining.
Yeah.
Because
that would be a good idea.
That was a really nice silver lining, was that we have found, in addition to wine, so many other stuff that we love. So
right.
Ding, 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 bell for wine. Ding, 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 bell for steak sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. And really great products that have organic sugar. I mean, I'll never forget, years prior to my alpha-gal diagnosis, I actually saw a brand of sugar that said does not contain bone char. And I thought it was the weirdest label I had ever read. I'm like, why? Like, is this like one of those things where it's like chicken with rib meat? Like, I never really understood that label. And so it was so strange to me. And then clearly, that was one of the reasons I was still reacting, was because I was having things with white sugar in it. So yeah, little did I know then that that label was pretty important.
Discovery by exclusion or something, where like the Jiffy cornbread, wait, it's not all vegetarian.
Right. Yeah. So sneaky sources, be on the lookout.
Another tip for when you're looking at labels is don't just read the front of the package. You need to check the back too, to read the full ingredient list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great tip, because I know we were both shocked when we did one of our Gals Go Shopping videos and we found chicken sausages that were labeled pork-free casing on the front. And then when we flipped it over, it was actually in a lamb casing. So they were not safe. And I think even someone reached out to us and said, oh my gosh, I had those in my freezer. So that's another, labeling can just be so sneaky. So just don't discredit reading all the way around the box or package to make sure you're not missing something that's kind of hidden or in an obscure place.
I think that's such a good thing to remember too. And particularly that example feels extra sneaky because, you look at most turkey sausages or chicken sausages or turkey dogs or whatever you're looking in that section of the grocery store, and they are almost always in a pork casing. So my initial reaction when I saw those sausages was, oh, it's fine, it's not in a pork casing, when in fact it wasn't. So great advice to read the front and the back.
Absolutely. So were there any surprising stores that you've found alpha-gal safe items or products? Do you have any favorites locally?
Well, I do. So Candace and I, we live in an area of Virginia that does not have a great shopping selection. we talk frequently about how we miss Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and Wegmans and all of these stores that we don't have near us. But funny enough, one of our, hot spots for finding stuff we can eat is TJ Maxx or Home Goods. They have these sort of gourmet food sections, and we found a lot of stuff that's actually safe. And the nice thing about that too is that you're getting a more gourmet product for less of a price. So I think that's been my favorite little secret for shopping for safe foods.
Yeah.
So don't discount those, don't discount the discount stores.
Right. Absolutely. And I know I've seen a lot of people finding some really great stuff at Aldi, and we now have an Earth Fare, which is like a mini Whole Foods, but we also have 2 really fantastic health food stores that are locally owned businesses. And yeah, I don't think I realized I always loved TJ Maxx. And I think sometimes you forget what places contain. I don't know if maybe that was just kind of in the moment of feeling depressed about what was happening, that I didn't even think to go look there until we did the Easter baskets. Then I'm like, oh my God.
We found candy there. We found soup mix there. Everything that was safe. It was really eye-opening.
I know. I've gone back trying to find this one popcorn that we found there, and I can't find it anymore.
I've been looking for it too.
So yeah,
if you can get it anywhere around here.
Lesser Evil is a really great popcorn, but they had a vegan, wasn't it cheese?
I think it was like a vegan, cheddar or something like that.
Yeah.
Popcorn. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Yeah. That was made with nutritional yeast. It was delicious.
Yes, and certified vegan.
It was safe. It was really, really, really good.
We've got a couple of brands of good popcorn. That's a great go-to snack for me too, because I know especially if I'm making it at home, it's always safe when I make it at home, but finding it out, as long as I'm avoiding dairy products,
Right. Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Where else do you like to shop for safe stuff? Where have you had anything surprising? Anywhere surprising that you've been able to find safe stuff?
I mean, I feel like TJ Maxx was probably the most, maybe Target. Target was probably a surprising one for me.
And you know what I've noticed about Target and some of these other big box stores is that it seems like they are shifting a little bit. I'm seeing more of these all natural or more natural brands, which are not always safe, but I feel like we have more options that are safe when those things, as we've gone and done some of the Gals Go Shopping videos, it goes much beyond food, household items. And when you can go to a place like Target or Walmart or another one of these big box stores and you can get everything you need at once, that is such a huge time saver for something that potentially takes so much time.
So I think Target, I do too. I think Target became one of those stores that I went to weekly in the beginning because of that. I knew I could get safe soap, safe laundry detergent, all of the things from food to household products. And it made it feel not so overwhelming.
Yeah. And that might have something to do with how much I love Target, that it didn't feel so overwhelming, but it was just so nice to be able to just go from aisle to aisle and know and be familiar with the stuff that I could buy that was going to be safe. I mean, even including wine, right? Like we can find safe wines, at least a small selection of them, even at Target or the grocery store.
Yeah. And I think, when we started really doing the Gals Go Shopping videos, I think it really opened my eyes to how important it is to have maybe a shopping buddy. Like it made it a little more fun. So I don't know if anyone out there has the opportunity to do that, but maybe bring a friend or, one of your kids or someone that your spouse or partner, maybe someone that would get as excited over finding, I don't know, like some safe barbecue sauce.
No, that's such a good point too, because I think like that's building your support system in addition to, checking off your to-do list. And that's teaching the people around you the things that we're learning, right? That you can go to the grocery store or Target or TJ Maxx and find safe, fun, delicious things or great products that are safe. I love that suggestion.
Yeah. And you can, use it as an opportunity for, expanding your own knowledge around navigating this allergy, but also the people closest to you, because then they can help you when you are shopping. And maybe if you do get into a rushed situation, you at least would have a buddy with you that can help pick up some of the stress of it, or help keep it less stressful, I guess, and reading through some of the ingredients and say, hey, no, you can't have that because it has this in it, but hey, look, they have this brand, or,
Yes. No, that's fun. It's even fun in stores like Earth Fare or Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, right? Where we know that there's a much higher percentage of products that are safe for us.
Yes.
I love doing that, like going down the ice cream aisle and like seeing all the new options that I didn't know were out there. Oh my gosh.
And I do think that it is helpful to have that, right? Because you're in a space where it's like, look at all the things I can have instead of this like tiny little section, right? Even if you're not going to buy it all, you still, I don't know, somehow feel validated.
Yes, I think so. I think the first time I went into Earth Fare when it opened, I mean, it really did just open a couple of months ago here. The first time I went in, I was like Julie Andrews in The Sound of Music going down the aisles, right? Like just spinning and singing, because there were cookies and crackers and coffee and wine and like deodorant and face wash, all
Did
that
you do
were
a twirl
for me? Yes, probably.
Yeah,
so.
I'm pretty sure I've done that. Totally done that.
I might have hugged the cashier when I was checking out, like, you don't know what this means to me. I have alpha-gal syndrome. And they're like,
right.
Alpha what?
Right. Yeah, but it does. Too. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. But you need a little boost, like we all need a little boost. So I think takeaway, don't discredit the discount retailers in your area and take a shopping buddy with you. It's a lot more fun.
Definitely. That's why we love those gals videos so much. I think we get to go shopping together.
Yeah.
We still introduce each other to new things.
That's right. Cool. It is. It's very cool.
So in addition, we think that preparation is key. As we said at the beginning, figure out your level of severity, plan your shopping trip out, give yourself time so that you don't have to shop in a rush. Also, always be sure to check the labels and don't trust one that just says vegan on it. Be sure that you're looking to make sure it's certified vegan.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And always remember, you're worth taking the time and spending the money to feel good.
I love that.
Yeah. You're worth it. Right?
Yes, exactly. It's hard to remember that sometimes because we're just so extra sometimes because we've got to do so much to accommodate our allergy. And I forget that I am worth taking the time. And that's, you should remember that too.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Living with allergies is all about sacrifices. So treat yourself to a good shopping trip, a good, safe cornbread mix or barbecue sauce.
Or some good vegan ice cream.
Oh, yes. My husband brought me some macadamia nut ice cream the other day. And it was like gelato. It was so good. It was mango. Yum. Oh my gosh.
What?
Yes. Ice cream.
Yeah.
Safe.
Ice cream.
Well, thank you so much for listening today. We would like to add that, in fact, we had to start and stop this like 17 or 18 times because we are both battling brain fog. And we know that if anybody understands that, it's you. And we appreciate it. Yes. Until next time.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on In the Tall Grass. Visit us at 2alphagals.com. That's TWOalphagals.com. Or you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at 2alphagals. If you enjoyed listening, please leave a review and help us grow this community.
We're all faced with obstacles on our journey, whether it be food allergies or tick-borne diseases. You might outgrow the reaction, but you won't outgrow the person you become. Ticks suck, but life doesn't have to.